Senator Batters.
Minister, in this Bill C-46, as has been touched on a little bit today, your government will allow random breath testing for alcohol, but does not provide any similar procedure for random drug testing. When you were asked about this in front of the House of Commons Justice Committee, at 2 different times you responded that for drug testing, quote, the science continues to evolve. And today, you said in response to one of my colleagues' questions, science is not as advanced, not as exact. Minister, given that drug testing has not sufficiently evolved at this point, in your own words, why is your government legalizing, not decriminalizing, the most widely used illegal drug?
Well, thank you, Senator, for the questions. Driving while impaired, including drug-impaired driving, is a problem on the roads right now. And we are working incredibly hard within our government, with our partners in the provinces and territories, and the work that we're undertaking in order to be able to detect individuals that get behind the wheel of their car after having consumed drugs is addressed appropriately based on scientific evidence, based on the Drugs and Driving Committee, who have been providing us with scientific advice, as I said, for decades. And we have put in place, in terms of Part 1 of this bill, additional measures, including the devices, the oral fluid devices that will be provided to law enforcement officers that the Drugs and Driving Committee have confirmed with us that they're confident will be ready to enable law enforcement officers to be able to detect the per se limits that are contained within the legislation, and again provide an additional tool for law enforcement officers to be able to discern whether an individual has been under the influence of drugs.
Minister, this Senate committee recently concluded an excellent 18-month study on criminal court delays. Despite that study and the dire consequences that result from the criminal court delays in Canada, your government continues to delay in fixing this critical issue, including 63 judicial vacancies that currently still plague our justice system. Our court delay study found that the huge number of impaired driving charges, as you alluded to right now, are an absolute glut on the criminal justice system. And last May, when we were in Halifax, the Halifax police chief told me that he was highly concerned about the drastic impact that your government's plan to legalize marijuana would have on an already very stressed court system. So given the court delay crisis in Canada right now, where people charged with first-degree murder have had their cases dismissed, why are you, as the Justice Minister, exacerbating this already massive court delay problem?
Well, there's, thank you, Senator. There's a number of questions in there and statements. Without getting into detail about the appointment of judges, I'm very proud of the appointment process that we have put in place. Last year alone, appointing more judges than anyone in the last 20 decades, or 2 decades rather. In terms of delays, I want to say, as I have before this committee, I really appreciate the work that you have done and the reports that you have provided with respect to delays in the criminal justice system. This is a huge concern of obviously all of yours and a huge concern of mine. I will say that with respect to what was stated in your report and what I said in my opening comments, with respect to impaired driving, this is one of the biggest prosecuted areas in our courts. And I will say that there are a number of measures that are contained within Bill C-46 that will significantly address or seek to address delays as we broadly look to rewrite the impaired provisions in the criminal code, from disclosure to the blood alcohol concentration and how that can be proved, to acting as a significant deterrence by putting in place mandatory alcohol screening. I would say that the measures that we've put in place, and I haven't named them all, will contribute greatly to a reduction in the procedural challenges, the disclosure requests, the proving the qualifications of a drug recognition evaluation expert. The number of measures that we've put in place will contribute towards a reduction of the delays, and I will add again, particularly around mandatory alcohol screening and the deterrence measures that I believe and that we have been told exist in Bill C-46, particularly in Part 2, that will take a big, that will contribute to the reduction of those delays. I take delays in the court systems very seriously.
Thank you, Madam Minister.